Welcome to Osteo, that's with a capital T-E-A, where Osteo Warriors in treatment and recent survivors spill the tea on all things osteosarcoma and cancer from the adolescent young adult patient perspective. Listen in on our honest and personal conversations about our osteo experiences, stories, and who knows what else. This podcast discusses all aspects of the young adult cancer experience in a conversational format. Conversations and language will be appropriate for listeners age 18 and over. Audience discretion is advised. Like and follow MIB Agents on social media for all the intel.
In case you haven't already heard about it a million times by now, we are so grateful for our Factor conference at the Rancho Bernardo Inn this summer. It was wonderful having something for everyone in the osteosarcoma community, and more importantly, it brought us all together to collaborate for a cure. Many videos and photos have already been shared of the event on our social media outlets, but make sure to look if you haven't already. We also have some more events coming up within the next month. Since July was Sarcoma Awareness Month and September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, join us for our virtual Outrunning Osteosarcoma event going on now. When you run, walk, cycle with us, you can help cause a cure. With MIB Agents, no one walks through osteosarcoma alone. So let's go out running together. You can register at mibagents.swoogo.com/outrunning.
This September, we encourage you to be bold and go gold for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Make and sell bows in your community or make a donation this summer and get a bow that shows you care. Contact Anita at mibagents.org to volunteer today.
And this episode is sponsored by the Osteosarcoma Institute, a nonprofit organization led by osteosarcoma experts from top U.S. cancer centers, who together are concentrating on the cure for osteosarcoma. The mission of the OSI is to dramatically increase treatment options and survival rates in osteosarcoma patients through identifying and funding the most promising and breakthrough osteosarcoma clinical trials in science. In addition to advancing research, OSI also provides a free resource called OSI Connect for osteosarcoma patients. Our osteosarcoma experts can discuss available treatments, possible side effects, and provide helpful advice for getting the most out of your visits and your treating physician. This resource is available in English and Spanish and aims to help patients and families find answers to their questions.
Well, welcome everyone to the third episode of Osteo, the Osteosarcoma podcast. We're so excited to be back and spilling the tea on all things osteosarcoma. And today we have two wonderful guests, OsteoWarrior Allie and OsteoSibling Nick, to help us spill the tea on the transition back to school with treatment and supporting your sibling going through treatment. Thanks so much for joining us on Osteo today. We're so excited to have you. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Camille. I'm an MIB Junior Advisory Board member and OsteoWarrior. To give a brief background on me, I was diagnosed with osteosarcoma in 2013 at age 10. I went through a year of chemotherapy and a limb salvage surgery of my right tibia. And since my diagnosis, I've relapsed 7 times. And most recently, I'm recovering from a left thoracotomy that I had in June, but I am super excited to be able to go back to school at Boston University this fall for my sophomore year, where I'm studying psychology and theater. And also, of course, with us today is host Vicky Hoy.
Hi everyone, my name is Vicky Hoy, and I am also a Junior Advisory Board member and OsteoWarrior. I was diagnosed last year in July of 2021 and received 10 months of MAP chemotherapy along with limb salvage that replaced half my pelvis and my hip. And I also had a thoracotomy in my right lung. Since finishing treatment in May, I'm now looking forward to being a freshman at Villanova University studying finance. I'm very excited that I got my brother to come on this podcast. Honestly, a little surprised. He's been very busy this summer with his work. I'm also happy that fellow OsteoWarrior and a Junior Advisory Board member, Allie, was able to join us. So Nick and Allie, feel free to introduce yourselves.
Hi there, my name is Nick, aka Vicky's bigger brother here. I currently attend the Rutgers University, where I'm in the business school studying finance. I'll be heading to my junior year come this fall. I'm part of the men's soccer club, which takes up a lot of my time, both in the fall and the spring, but it gets me through a lot of my stuff. And besides that, it's just studying from here on out.
Okay, hi, my name is Ali Tamayose. I'm also a junior advisory board member, and I am an OsteoWarrior. I was diagnosed in January 2018 at age 11, and I received the MAP chemotherapy roadmap, and a limb salvage surgery. We've been trying to deal with the metastases in my lungs since I finished MAP, and I've had 8 thoracotomies, and we're now trying lung radiation paired with immunotherapy infusions. Earlier this year, I began experiencing severe headaches, and we found out that the cancer had also spread to my brain. And I had a craniotomy done to remove the big tumor causing pressure on the right side of my brain. While there were still smaller mets in my brain, we treated them with radiation, and the radiation seems to be working. So I am currently a junior in high school and just have been adjusting to manage my new treatments with schoolwork and everything on top of that.
Well, welcome again, Nick and Allie. We are going to dive right on into our first segment, which we open each and every episode with. It's What's the Tea? No, like literally. We'll be going around and sharing what we're drinking and give an honest review on it. So I'll start us off. I have 2 drinks tonight, which is a little crazy for me. But my recent favorite has been the limoncello LaCroix. It is literally like heaven in a drink. It's like an orange creamsicle, but lemon. And it's so good. This is a 10 out of 10. And then I also have, oh my gosh, it's like stuck to my table, but I have some chamomile tea, which just goes perfectly because my name's Camille and it kind of sounds similar. This is a classic, it has a lot of honey in it, and let me see. I'd have to give it a 9 out of 10. The limoncello always takes precedence over it. But Vicky, what are you drinking today?
I don't have the LaCroix, but I made my own lemon seltzer. That's what we're having today.
Okay.
Very similar, but I'll be honest. When I was drinking it, I give it like a 7 out of 10. Like it wasn't as bubbly as I would have liked, as the canned ones are, but it was still all right. How about you, Nick?
So I actually have the canned seltzer with me today, the one that
Oh.
Vicky wished she has. So she might come down and steal it halfway through. But I love seltzer so much. It's my go-to drink for absolutely everything. And on a nice day like this in the summer, it's very refreshing. Comparing it to like a soda and stuff, just without all the sugar. So I'm in love with seltzer basically.
You gotta give it a rate out of 10.
Yeah, you gotta rate it.
This is a strawberry flavored. I'd give it a 9.5 out of 10.
Wow, incredible.
And I don't have any form of seltzer or anything like that. I had to kind of go through my refrigerator and find something. The only thing I could really find was apple juice,
Yum.
sugar, good. My sister and I enjoy drinking apple juice, so it's a nice callback to your childhood, I guess. Just juice and not anything. It's just a comfort drink almost. So I'd have to give it like a 9 out of 10 just for nostalgia.
Definitely. But enough on our tea and more important onto the issue of college and back to school, since the back to school season is already fastly approaching, which is crazy. I feel like I just finished my semester at BU. But to start us off, Allie, I know you've been in and out of treatment for a while also attending school. So what has that experience been like for you?
It's been rough. I was diagnosed in 6th grade. And then I pretty much was barely in school during my intermediate years because 7th grade I was in and out of the hospital constantly, so I feel like I hardly was ever there, and my 8th grade year got cut short because of COVID. So, and I've been, fighting this disease in high school too now, and I think it's just the most difficult part about it, I think, is just being out so often, and when you come back and you feel sort of like out of place because you fall behind, not fall behind, but like you don't get the same information that the people who are in person are getting. So it's just it's hard in a sense that you feel a little disconnected from the teachers and your classmates because you just are hardly ever there, I guess. And for me, it's been an adjusting to um, having treatments like radiation or immunotherapy while having to manage homework and just daily schoolwork that I need to be keeping up with so I can keep my grades up.
Yeah, that's
And then
always rough. Can't imagine doing both of them at once.
it's something else. And then I think Vicky.
Yeah. So mine was kind of a unique experience because I was diagnosed 2 weeks after I graduated high school. So it's kind of a time when like quite a few people take a gap year. So I was kind of able to just take a gap year, even though it kind of felt a little unproductive because I wasn't working or making money. I was just spending money on more meds and chemos and surgeries. But I was able to take a gap year, which was pretty difficult to see all my friends go off to college and me kind of be set back. But I'm kind of like have a late birthday anyways, so it's kind of okay that I'm going to school this year, just being a little older for the grade now. But I was able to take an easy class in the fall while I was in treatment, but it was still so difficult to keep up with deadlines, even though I think the class was literally called stress management. And I was like, I got a lot to tell you. So that's definitely a good class to take, but it was so hard to keep up. So I just dropped all classes in the spring. And then I took a class this summer just to kind of have a transition from absolutely no treatment into, no treatment, absolutely no classes into a full load of classes. But I'm really excited about starting college in the fall, but still nervous about relapsing and having a work balance because I've had a lot of problems with like memory issues because of treatment. But I also just wanted to talk about sports as well. I mean, we might talk about it later as well, but I was recruited to Villanova for rowing, but I can't row anymore. But I think it was really awesome that the coaches there still wanted me to have this sense of community. So they kind of gave me a assistant coach, kind of treasury kind of position where I just log all the times that people are rowing and kind of cheer them on from the sidelines and like help out with any of their regattas or other events. And I just kind of get to be part of the community that I should have been part of if it weren't for cancer. And I know, Camille, you've already had experience with starting college. So how has that been for you?
College has definitely been crazy. Kind of like Allie, I've been on and off treatment while in school. So managing treatment and like a demanding course load has been very challenging. But I'll definitely go back to like middle and high school a little bit. The beginning of school is always a super hectic time, and it is for everyone, if you even if you don't have a life-threatening illness like cancer or osteosarcoma. And I think especially in middle and high school, having so many new teachers each year and trying to re-explain your condition and needs to, not everyone is bound to have a good response or know how to react in a way that's appropriate. Like I've had some pretty bizarre things said to me. I'll just do a little story time. I was wearing a dress on the first day of school. This was sophomore year of high school. And I have a pretty big scar on my right leg. And we're lining up, the bell's about to ring. And my chemistry teacher comes over to me and he's like, "What'd you do to get that scar?" And I was like, and everyone knew. And they all turned and looked at me like, "Oh my God, what is this guy saying?" But then the bell rung, thank God, and I got out of there. And the rest of the year, it was so awkward. But I think eventually he figured out what was going on because, but yeah, it's always a process to get teachers to understand. And I also had a 504 plan, which is basically like a legal accommodation list that, is updated accordingly to your needs every year. So that was certainly helpful. And college, although I've only had 2 semesters of college, most of my professors have been super kind and supportive. And I know I'm super lucky to have that experience because, sometimes professors in college are unpredictable and, they're not really obligated to be nice to you, which sucks. But anyway, Nick, I know you're kind of on the opposite side of this, where you're an OsteoSibling and you aren't directly experiencing treatment, but as we all know at this point, cancer affects the entire family. So when Vicky was diagnosed, what was starting school like for you, and how did your peers or instructors react?
Well, I just bring it back to the summer that she was diagnosed. It was really a shock because we really didn't know what was going on with her for so long. And so I just remember, like, as soon as the information came out, I had many people within my close-knit community come out and always, anything I could do for you, let me know. And I got so used to people telling me that all the time. And I, of this course, didn't know what to say to them. I'm like, thank you. And I became numb to that a little bit. I think like one of the strongest things that I went through in the beginning during the summer when she got first diagnosed was, I remember I was hanging out with one of my friends, my close friends, and he had known that Vicky was going through something, but we just didn't know what it was exactly. And I was outside in this sunset maybe in the summer, and then we were just talking, and I look at him, I'm like, and Vicky's not doing so well, and he's like, is everything okay? And then I broke the news to him of what she'd be diagnosed with, and we just stared at each other, and he I mean I he gave me a hug, and like we've never been in that kind of emotional state together because we're it's always fun times with friends, but we've never had a real serious look at each other and be like, this is really serious, and I'm going to be there for you. And so I had everyone come out to me and be like, anything we can help you with during the summer. So then going to school, I almost didn't want that experience. I didn't want people to almost pity me in a way and make changes to anything just to make a difference in my life. And so I kept quiet with it, really. I kept it inside. The only person that really knew what was going on with my family and everything was my roommate, who I'm very close with. But any other friends I had there and teachers, I kept pretty silent about it. I think definitely just being away from Vicky at the time and my family, I was almost like isolated at my campus. And so when you don't hear, text messages about what's going on, updates, or any photos, it almost, thankfully disappears for a little bit. And I'm able to focus more on schoolwork, and because this is the first time in person for me because coronavirus wiped out my entire freshman year. And so first time on campus, I was looking forward to going in and trying to get as much stuff done, but there's always in the back of my head just something's going on with my family, and anything can happen at that point because it was so new to us. And I didn't know how to act with that. um yeah, so I didn't really want to tell anyone. And there are often times where I would honestly forget about it, being caught up in all my work. And then just that little thought in the back of your head, like, Vicky's going through something, or I'd get an update about what her diagnosis is, or, what her treatment's, going to take and how long it's going to take. And then, all of a sudden I just drop my schoolwork and I just sit there, often start crying at my desk. My roommate's like, I don't know what's going on. He'll leave me alone for a couple minutes because I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I'm not, I'm like an hour away. I can't really just phone her and stuff. I got homework. It's due the next day. I've got, tests to study for, other responsibilities. And then I just had this overwhelming emotion just hit me. Um, and yeah, I mean, one of the toughest thing is like I really can't help. Um, you know, it's really on Vicky to be strong and go through this. So I could offer like emotional support and stuff like that, but it's a pain not being able to like really make like a structured impact and be there for her. And luckily that changed during the spring because at the time I was playing for my club soccer team and we would have games on the weekends, and so I wasn't able to drive home and see Vicky or my parents at all. But in the spring, that kind of changed where our season stopped. And so I kind of made it a priority with me and my twin sister to drive back almost every weekend to visit Vicky, whether she was at MSK in the city or just be home with my family in case they need to go there and they need, time away from that. Because obviously they got cut up with everything too. But I mean, there are often times where, I've been walking back from class and then it just hits me like, my sister, could possibly die at any time. And I would just start crying on the way back from class. And then, everyone's like, what's going on? I'm like trying to put my head down, like, you know, I don't want anyone to really come up to me and start talking to me because I don't really want to have that conversation. And I feel like they wouldn't really understand or, what other people are going through. Um, and, you know, with my own roommate, the person who really knew what was going on, he had other family members that also went through cancer. And they all survived at the time. So he was able to give me a bit of hope. It wasn't osteosarcoma. It was breast cancer at the time with one of his grandmothers. But he did help in a way with telling me how he went through it because he was in high school at the time. And so, yeah, he gave me a lot of advice about how to get my mind off of things or what he could, what I could do to help and just be there emotionally and support Vicky through that. So he was a big help for me. Um, but yeah, oftentimes I feel like I need to speak to someone, to an advisor or something. But I just was almost too shy or didn't want to start talking about it because I knew if I sat down with an advisor or something and just started explaining about my situation, I knew I just couldn't stop myself from crying because it's just like overwhelming. I've been keeping it, bundled up, and then all the stress of schoolwork and my soccer club. I just feel like I didn't need to have that additional, stress and this idea that my sister's, going through something horrific at the time. But thankfully, everything turned out okay. And, during the spring, being able to see her more often and sleeping over at MSK with her was a lot, I felt a lot closer to her then, and that I might have been doing a bit more to her to help her at least. You know, times where she would be crying in pain, but I'd just be like standing there and I would start laughing because I didn't know how to really deal with that at the time. Like she would be just, screaming at the top of her lungs, and the nurses would come and try to hold her down. And I would just be like massaging her foot or something. I'm like, what am I going on? Like other college kids are, partying or going to football games. And here I am like massaging my sister's foot in like New York City. And it was a crazy experience. I just couldn't help myself from like laughing or like, I'm like, I know this is going to be okay. I know she's going to be fine. There's no need to be like upset or start crying or be like, oh no, Vicky, like, don't worry about it. I just remember like everything's going to be okay in the end. So there's definitely some interesting experiences. But honestly, I think that brought us closer together a lot. Not everyone is so close with their siblings, but um, almost a blessing in disguise being able to be closer with her and spend more time with her, especially at a time during college where you often are separated from your siblings. And that's like kind of part of your life where you go off on your own. But it almost brought us back together in that sense. And I got to hear a lot more about more like what she's going through in her life, what my parents are going through. a lot more like secrets I didn't really know at the time. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot. I tried to keep a lot of it like bundled up in the back of my head, but often I couldn't contain it sometimes. But everything worked out for the better in the end. And here I am speaking on this podcast, sharing my experience. And thankfully, it's been tough, but it's come out positive. And I hope that's the same for a lot of other people that it might be listening. Just if you're ever there massaging someone's foot in a hospital bed, just enjoy it, because you may never, I may never get to touch Vicky's feet again, but here I am helping her out with that, so yeah.
I mean, I hope you're not massaging my feet again. I honestly, I don't
Indeed.
even remember you being there. I was on so many drugs after surgery. I don't remember anything. Apparently, I called a few people and was just screaming.
Yeah, you
I don't
you
remember it at all.
you gave the nurse the middle finger, and then
Did I
you looked at
really?
me and then gave me the middle finger, and then you were like yelling. I think you said the F word too, but I remember you just put your hand up and started giving me the finger. I'm like, what? Like, you're on some crazy stuff right now to be
I
giving
was
me.
in a lot of pain. Okay,
I
and I
know.
was on a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
Damn. I mean, a part of it's also kind of emotional, like hearing you talk about like, what you're going through emotionally while I was through that. Because I honestly didn't think of it through your perspective at all. I was just get through treatment. But I hope it's honestly like eye-opening to other siblings that might be hearing this to share that their experience might be difficult as well. But it's definitely something that you can get through and it'll get better with time. Also, just be careful, Nick. You don't want to share too much, anything embarrassing. Can't say anything embarrassing. I don't know. I mean, that's already kind of embarrassing. I was flipping off everyone. It's the things cancer makes you do. But
There's circumstances, you were going through
yeah,
something,
yeah. Yeah, I don't plan on doing that to you any other time. Don't worry. I mean, it depends
Has
if
it.
you're annoying. But yeah. But anyways, past that, I know both you, Camille, and Ali have been in and out of treatment for a few years. So, has there ever been a time that you need to change your schedule, like in an instant, whether that's with school or just anything to do with treatment?
So I was diagnosed pretty much in the middle of my 6th grade year. I got sick right after, right after everyone went back to school after winter break. So pretty much as soon as I was diagnosed, we worked with my teachers where I wasn't going to be um, coming to school for pretty much the rest of the year because my immune system was just too low and we couldn't risk me getting sick. But my teachers were very supportive and my counselors were very supportive, and they were able to accommodate me by whether it's I come in for tutoring after school after everyone leaves, or I come in during the day and go to just stay in the counselor's office if I need to do any like state testing or stuff like that. So, and if I ever had to eat lunch at that time, they let me eat in the teacher's lounge with all the teachers. So I didn't have to go to the cafeteria with all the other kids. Um, so they were able to accommodate me really well um, when I was diagnosed. And then middle school, that intermediate school, middle school, new teachers, new counselor, but they were also very supportive and accommodating to what I needed. They were able to get my work to me on time. And I think Camille mentioned also like having like a legal plan where, and where I'm from, it's called a 504 plan, where it states what your needs are and what you need that will help um, you get through school while battling this disease. So I got a 504 plan, and it basically said that, teachers have to lessen the workload if needed, give me extensions, and just stuff like that. And they were very supportive, and they did it, and it honestly made my life so much. I mean, I was still going through a huge amount of stress from just treatment, but the stress of having to worry about getting my schoolwork done on time was kind of taken off with the 504 plan, because my teachers knew that I may need more time, because there are some days that I just, I'm too tired to do any work from after treatments. So that was really nice, and it took kind of it was a huge burden taken off my chest. So that was middle school, and then now I'm in high school, and my teachers and my counselors are both all still very supportive, and I really haven't run into any issues with them not um not being able to accommodate me and what I'm going through. So I've had so far good experiences with my teachers and my counselors, and just adjusting to my treatments and everything. But I do know that there are some people here in Hawaii who I know have not osteosarcoma but a form of cancer, and they went to school and they did not have a good experience. So I'm very happy that my teachers and counselors have all been pretty supportive and accommodating to my needs and everything, as my treatment kind of fluctuates all the time. So, but Camille, I'm sure you have some things to say on going through school while in treatment.
Yeah, well, certainly I'm glad to hear that the 504 was working out for you good. So I was diagnosed in, I think, like November of the 4th grade in 2013. So I started MAP-IE, which is methotrexate, doxorubicin, cisplatin, ifosfonide, etoposide. And between like the 4th and 5th grade, I think I maybe went to school like 5 or 6 times. And honestly, I think it was like for like field day, or like the class was making shirts or something like that. Like it wasn't like, like it's kind of the 4th and 5th grade, like, is it that essential? But I received tutoring, especially in math, to try and keep up, which, to be honest, being that young and missing those fundamental math concepts really kind of set me up to struggle in math. But I continued to receive tutoring throughout middle school, and amidst relapses as well. Osteosarcoma is sneaky and never comes back at a convenient time. So I've relapsed, during the school year, and I've completely needed to pivot into treatment mode and surgery mode. And like Allie, thankfully, my teachers and counselors have been super supportive. And, as long as I tried my best to keep up with the content, most teachers, were like, don't take exams. I know you understand this. I don't want to cause you more stress. And this is how I passed pre-calc in junior year. So shout out to my math teacher. But yeah, yeah. Oh my God, sorry. Editors cut that out. That was so awkward. But anyway, Nick, so being an OsteoSibling, was there ever a time you had to cancel plans or adjust your schedule to be there helping out for your family or for Vicky?
There were definitely times where I'd usually see her on the weekends when I had time. Thankfully, Rutgers is only like an hour away from where we lived, and so driving back on the weekends was doable. And so there are times where I'd have exams the following week or had plenty of homework due on the weekend, but I'd end up driving back to the house, either if Vicky was there or if she was at MSK at the time, and just putting off my homework for the current time being and be like, there's obviously things more important than homework at this time. And being there for Vicky at MSK was one of them. Although as soon as she would go to sleep on all of her drugs, I would try to bust out all my homework on time. Um, so there are many times where I'd just be sitting next to her at the bed and then trying to get all my homework done. And I was like, this is such a unique scenario. I never think I'd be doing homework in a hospital like this. Um, but it luckily didn't cut into my studying as much, thankfully. Um, yeah, even if I were to go home on the weekends or visit Vicky in the city, I would still, really grind homework or studying like the night before and just barely make it. But I mean, it was worth it, of course, being there. I wouldn't change anything about it at all. And like I said, like, it's bigger things than trying to get, my calc homework done on time or something. And as for, being a soccer player and the club team there, there are a couple away games that I would miss just to come home. Not only because I don't want to drive to the away games, because it'd be like 2 hours away. I was like, no way. But also just because I know Vicky was going through some difficult times um, during those the days that I did go back. And so I tell my coach, there's a family emergency or something, and I wouldn't really explain too much. And he was very, supportive of that and be like, yeah, absolutely. Like, you can take the time that you need. And, thankfully he allowed me to do that without, any punishments or anything for the team. But besides that, I wasn't really asked upon too many times. I would go upon my weeks as any other college student, really, except for the few breakdowns. But in terms of like getting things done, I would mostly be on time. And it was only the weekends where my parents knew I had extra free time that I would try to be available for her.
Yeah, I guess another question I have as someone who hasn't had treatment while in school is what were your thoughts during this time, and was it like difficult to maintain motivation through your work and treatment?
For me, I mean, elementary school and intermediate was pretty, the work wasn't too much, and it didn't really feel like it was super hard. In high school, teenagers, like, you already have no motivation to do anything that has to do with schoolwork. So for me, I almost have to work extra hard to keep up on my schoolwork when I'm not in school. So that'll, because when I'm not in school and I'm not getting in person instruction, I lose what was explained in class, and it just makes it hard twice, like 2 times harder than the work already is, especially like math. Like, if you miss math instruction, like, when you get the homework and you miss everything that the teacher went over in class, you kind of stare at it and you're like, what am I doing? Like, but I have my auntie who tutors me, and she helped me get through all of the rest of 6th grade, pretty much all of 7th grade, especially with my math homework. So I have her to thank for that, and she always is so helpful. I can just call her up and I'll be like last school year, I had to be out all of the 3rd quarter because of my radiation, brain tumor radiation, all that sort of stuff. And I had a biology project I needed to do, and I wasn't in school, and I texted my friends and I was like, what the heck are we supposed to do? And they were like, we don't really know either. So I was like, well, that's just great to hear. That's no help, but okay. But I asked my auntie, I was like, can you help me figure this out? She did, and then turned it in, and my teacher was like, wow, it looks like you really understand this. So I was like, take it as a win. So yeah, I think just maintaining motivation, um, just getting all my work done, when I'm feeling good, and using my auntie as a tutor resource, or like the internet resource, getting tutoring when needed, helped maintain motivation, because I'm one of those people who kind of like school when you know what's going on, sort of thing. So it's much easier for me to maintain motivation when I know what's going on. So when I get help, then it's pretty easy to get through. But I don't know, maybe Camille, you've had a different experience trying to maintain your work and your motivation.
Yeah, I mean, Allie, I think we have like pretty identical experiences. And I know for a fact your friends in that biology project, they knew what was going on. They 100% knew what was going on. And anyway, that makes me so angry because they are literally in school receiving instruction and we weren't. But for me, when I was well enough, I had the mindset of using school as a distraction, and having that mindset was essential to keep me caught up and staying in kind of like a normal life while still undergoing treatment. And it just really helped me like avoid getting caught up in like negative thoughts about, oh my god, like I've relapsed again, like I'm going on this treatment, will it work, like what's my prognosis. So just going to school, like if you can, at least this is my perspective, if you can go. If your symptoms are under control, I advise all those osteo warriors out there to go, because it can be super rewarding and promote a sense of normalcy that is far too easily taken away from us. So when I've been on treatments, I was on 2 pills, pazopanib and regorafenib. I attended school full time. And it was difficult to stay motivated, don't get me wrong, but again, the normalcy of going to school, it was just beyond valuable. Being around friends, getting up at 7:30, getting ready, getting out of the house, and studying the library after school, participating in clubs, like that was just beyond valuable. But yeah, my senior year of high school, which was the COVID year, was probably like the worst in terms of staying motivated for me. I was pretty much 1 out of 10 students who opted to go completely virtual instead of hybrid in person due to COVID. And I know, Allie, you kind of went through a similar situation with that, but it was so isolating and frustrating to not be in school because I wanted that normalcy so bad, but because of being immunocompromised, it just was not safe. And especially COVID being a pulmonary disease virus, like having lung mets, it's just not safe. So senior year kind of sucked for me, but my freshman year of college was incredible, and it is so what I desired my senior year to be. I made so many new friends, and I was constantly distracted by work and socializing. It was just super amazing. And I know, Allie, you also played soccer prior to treatment. I know for me, prior to my osteosarcoma diagnosis, I was an Irish dancer. I was a championship level Irish dancer. And with limb salvage or amputation being my surgical options, I was told I could never run or jump again, meaning I couldn't dance, which was super hard to process, especially at age 10. And I tried to stay involved, observing classes and supporting dancers at competitions, but it just was not the same. It wasn't the same at all. And I felt like I was missing out. And I just so desperately wanted to dance again. But I sought to find new passions, and I took up voice lessons. I started performing with my school's drama club and in community theaters. And in college this past semester, I continued to seek out those sorts of opportunities in musical theater and auditioned for a musical. And I got in out of like 90 auditionees, which is mind blowing. And I've assistant directed and, wait for it, choreographed musicals for youth. And although I still have to like modify and dance routines when I'm either choreographing or performing, like I've found so much joy in theater, and without osteo, I don't think I would have discovered that. So Ali, do you have any sort of similar experience? Are you able to stay active in some capacity? And if not, like, are you able to take part in other activities?
So kind of like you, I was a soccer player prior to treatment, and it was pretty much my entire life, to the point where like every single day of the week I was doing something soccer related. So obviously when I was diagnosed, hearing the news that, you know, I couldn't play contact sports again, that sort of thing, like that was a lot to take in as an 11-year-old. And I think it's still something my mom tells me it's grief. It's a loss of something. So, you know, going through your grief and facing it. And I think for me, I'm still trying to, you know, process it all. It makes it a little hard because, you know, I see all the people I grew up playing with or against, you know, they're going on to do great things in the soccer community. And I'm happy for them, but then at the same time, you know, I also kind of feel just sad, like what could have been sort of thing. But when with this diagnosis, I was able to find the love for public speaking, and public speaking generally was not something I used to do. In elementary school, I was like super quiet, like to the point where on every report card, the teacher's comments would be like, she needs to speak up, or she needs to talk more, or that sort of thing. And I would like not want to do anything that had to do with me speaking in front of a crowd of people. But because of my diagnosis, I've become affiliated with multiple organizations like MIB that have asked me to speak at their events. So, you know, it's kind of developed a passion for not only public speaking, but childhood cancer advocacy, I think. I never thought that I would find another passion, I guess you could say, after I lost soccer. But I think me being diagnosed was not the best thing that could happen, but it really in a sense benefited me because it allowed me to meet new people, make new friends, travel, and just, you know, I've met some of my greatest role models, people I look up to through treatment, and I've met so many great people through things like MIB, all the junior board members, OsteoSiblings, OsteoWarriors, and then I had the opportunity to do all of that, and I don't think I would have been able to feel that accomplished had I was not had gotten diagnosed and was still playing soccer. So I really think osteo has really opened doors for me that I don't think I would ever even consider something that I would find interesting had I, you know, still been playing soccer. So I like to take it as it really matured me, and, you know, is helping to prepare me for the real world as I grow up. So yeah.
Ali, I'm so happy to hear you've had that experience and have come to find a passion in public speaking. That's so amazing. But I think we are just about out of time today. So thank you for tuning into Osteo, the Osteosarcoma podcast. Be sure to follow MIB agents on social media at the links in the description for all the intel. Thank you so much to both Ali and Nick for speaking with us today. And we're your hosts, Camille,
Ali,
Nick.
My meat was on, and Vicky, and until next time, that's the tea.